Welcome to In Conversation. Our guest for today is actress, activist, author, Elizabeth Berkley Lauren. We will be taking questions from Facebook. We'll be taking questions from the studio audience here. Good morning to our studio in Australia. Good morning, Phil. It's Sunday morning there.
Good morning.
And please send us your questions as well. Please like our page, please share our page, and tell everyone you know to tune in, because you're going to want to hear the advice and insight of my wonderful guest, who, in full disclosure, is also my personal friend of many years.
Yes.
So I'm biased, but as I should be. First of all, thank you for coming, and thank you for sharing this.
Thank you so much for having me. It's, this is home for me. Howard, find wherever your studio is. I will follow you to the ends of the earth, and I'm thrilled about Australia because it just is perfect that you would go global with your teachings. I feel so lucky, so I'm just grateful to be here.
So my first question to you is your story. How did you come to be?
Well, we have Jerry and Fred Berkley to thank for that. Wow. Okay. I'm going to give you the Cliff Note version of that because otherwise that answer would be this entire talk. But I just want to say that how I got here, honestly, was starting with a burning desire in my heart. In Michigan. I grew up in Farmington Hills, Michigan, about as far from Hollywood as you can get. Yes, right about there. We have a friend in the audience. And where I grew up, coming to Hollywood and having this dream was something that people often laughed at. As I'm sure a lot of you actors all come from some background that there's someone in your life maybe who did not approve of this journey. So I commend you for being so brave and courageous to stand in it, no matter who the naysayer may be, a parent, a friend, you get it. But we all have someone or something that we kind of maybe overcame to pursue this. But since I was little, I had this burning desire. Really since before I can remembering. That's all I wanted to do. And luckily I have two incredible parents who took my dream seriously. It wasn't something they laughed at. I think, I started in dance. Dance has always been my salvation, my church, my everything. And so I committed myself to not just recreational classes like every little girl in my neighborhood at Miss Barbara's School of Dance. I did as much as I could. It went from the age of 4, from one lesson a week to 2, to the point where I would cry if I had to leave the studio. And I think my parents really knew I was serious, and that it wasn't just every little girl who says, "Mommy, I want to be a star." It was something that I wanted to really do the work and become great. That was my desire, not just to be a star. I wanted to do the work. And so I did as much dance as I could there. I started doing theater productions at school, and I became equity when I was 9, and started modeling with Elite in New York when I was 12. But I'm taking acting classes, and again, that's my mom. Before Google, before any of this, she was very resourceful, not a stage mom, I might add, hence why we're extremely close to this day. But she just like for my brother and his baseball or whatever we were passionate about, she figured out how to get to the very best training. And so I had the best I could there. But when I was 9, I wrote a letter to Norman Lear, who is a prolific television producer. At the time, I was watching The Jeffersons. And I wrote, I don't know if you know this story,
I don't.
But you won't be surprised by it.
Okay.
I wrote a note to Norman Lear, and I told him that he should make me a star. And that I told him all the training, and I was Screen Actors Guild already from doing commercials and whatnot. And I did get a letter back from his assistant at the time, who became head of casting at NBC, Mark Hirschfield. And he wrote a letter saying, "We don't need to find talent in other cities, but if you should ever find yourself in Los Angeles, please let us know." Smash cut to a family trip to California, and I called the office. My mom sent it, found the address, and he had me come in, and I brought a little boom box and sang Somewhere Over the Rainbow for him, and And he was like, let's get this girl an agent. So then I got a children's agent and started commuting back and forth. So I was still living in Michigan at the time. So from 12 to 15, I commuted back and forth. Got wonderful managers and acting coaches who I know you work with Diane Harden and Nora Eckstein,
Sure.
who took me in and nurtured me, and they were my coaches and my managers, and for children. And then we finally moved here. And my family, we moved here. It was inevitable that I was going to be coming here. I'm skipping over a lot. That'll be a book, or a one-woman show or something. But we came out here. My brother went off to college, and it was the perfect kind of transition for the whole family. And I got Saved by the Bell that spring, after that first pilot season. And we were really 15, all the kids on that show. So that was my first. I had been doing guest spots, reoccurring things, gradually through those 3 years, so I was building up a resume. I mean, I had one line on Silver Spoons, which was, "Hi Rick, nice place." Is that okay, Howard? I don't know if the intention. All I know is while I was waiting for my turn, I was like, "Hi Rick, the place is nice," or "It's nice." What? Oh God, when it was coming around to me, I didn't have all the tools yet. Anyway, thank God, Howard Fine entered the picture, and so I then got Saved by the Bell, and we did 100 episodes, and through that time I was doing guest spots and all sorts of things. When we graduated high school, it was time to graduate a little bit, and then the first film that I did was Showgirls, and it was, I mean, we could spend a whole hour on that, but it was a very, very intense period. It was very controversial at the time when it came out. It was my first starring role in a movie, and that team had just made Sharon Stone the biggest star in the world in Basic Instinct. And that movie came out, and I had to do a real check-in with myself in terms of what type of people I wanted to surround myself with after that. The industry was not so kind at the time, and so I really had to go deep. It was kind of taking an inventory on life, which now I look back, how lucky am I at 20 to have the opportunity, while albeit painful, and going through humiliation and degradation and everything you can imagine. And I say this not with a heaviness. I say this with such gratitude that how many people at 20 get to really go that deep. Oh, it was a choice I made, actually, to go that deep and not let it derail anything. But I got my ass in class. I had no ego about doing the work. I just wanted to do what I loved doing, because quite a few doors had shut after that. And that, getting back to class, getting back to my technique, and reminding myself what I already knew, it was so important for me for the trajectory of the next choices I made, and just to kind of come back to home and myself. But and just personally, as a person, you can't separate work from who you are as a person ever, even in the characters you choose. As Howard always says, it's not outside of yourself. And so for me, I got the opportunity to go very, very deep, and I had a willingness and a desire to do that, and not miss the opportunity to really kind of create and set some new goals for myself. So then through the next kind of period, it was maybe some smaller roles, but with the very finest people. I mean, there were 2 years where I was not allowed to audition for things. It was a very hard time. Many doors were shut. But lo and behold, Sherry Lansing, who was the head of Paramount at the time, she saw something in me, and it was a comedic role in First Wives Club that really turned things around. I auditioned many times. No ego, just wanted to go in and do the work and show people what I knew how to do, not how I was directed in the movie. That was kind of a bit counter to the way I knew in my bones how the work should be, and I was excited to just come back to myself. So that was heaven. I was working with Goldie Hawn, Bette Midler, Diane Keaton. These women could not be better mentors at a time when a young woman needed it. And then we coached next Al Pacino and Oliver Stone in Any Given Sunday to go toe-to-toe with him, and I mean, really, but I want to just say that I came back to technique class, Howard, level 1, and someone said to me at the time, I remember, "What are you doing in level 1? because they knew I had trained for all these years. For me, it was like a dancer going back to the bar. I just was like, why would I not be here? I want to do the work. So I was doing scene study, and it was a gift to kind of just return to technique. Technique will save you every time, no matter what set. Through this time, then we started to do London theater with Eddie Izzard, Sir Peter Hall, the Queen's Theatre on Shaftesbury. We did that, and then Hurley Burley on Broadway with Ethan Hawke and Parker Posey and Bobby Cannavale, and also Broadway with Arthur Penn directed, Richard Dreyfuss, and and then a lot of television, CSI Miami, and so many different incredible shows and arcs and different things. And through that time, I also created a foundation and work that I think also feeds my acting, which is being of service to others. So for me, I created workshops for adolescent girls. It's a self-esteem workshop I do. I've worked with hundreds of thousands of girls now around the world, and we created a New York Times bestselling book and a digital platform for girls, which I'm expanding on now. And I have no doubt that the ups and downs that I went through early on were the catalyst for why I wanted to be of service in this area. I would say for anyone, if you've been injured or hurt in a certain specific area, it's where you want to serve. And I think as actors, it's so important to hook into something that we want to serve outside of ourselves, because it can get, and this is not negative, it's just the truth. Our business can be brutal at times, and it's important to keep doing things outside of ourselves to get out of that kind of loop. And I think as much as I've helped the girls, they've also helped me through that. It's an exchange of energy and healing for everybody. So,
Wow.
That's there you go.
That's
a long, there's more, but anyway, for now.
A long and wonderful
Is
journey.
that too long, Howard?
No, it was wonderful.
I always check in with Howard, and he'll say to me, "What would I say to you?" Because we know each other
She
so
can
well.
do- actually,
I can
you-
do him.
She'll say, well, you would say, and by the time she's done, she's coached herself.
It's crazy.
Sometimes it's better than me.
He's like, "Oh,
I'll take
I
that.
did
That
great."
sounds great. Please like our page. Please share our page. Please let everyone you know tune in to Elizabeth Berkley Lauren and this wonderful experience and advice. This is from somebody who's here. This is from Andre. Where's that? Right there.
Hi, Andre.
How you doing?
How are you?
Good.
How was your experience working on Sly Fox?
Ooh, that's so interesting. You asked about that one. Did you see it, or it was just you were curious? Okay. You know what? Sly Fox was amazing. I had done the Lenny Bruce story in London just before that. My Broadway debut was Sly Fox, and it was thrilling. Richard Dreyfuss, you have this old school actor, and then Eric Stoltz and other fine theater actors. Oh my gosh, we had such a great cast. And it was a period piece and a comedy, and we had a ball working on it. I had actually auditioned for something else that I did not get, and that producer, Julian Schlossberg, who's become a dear mentor of mine, offered me, he came to me and said, it's yours to win. So I had to go in and audition for Arthur Penn, but he didn't forget me from that other.
That's very
and
important
I
for
wanna bring
actors
that
to
up.
hear, that when you make a great impression, it can come back.
Yeah, a lot of actor friends, we all in this room, or on your computer, or whatever device you're watching this on, we all can forget that everything's connected. And I have been blown away in my career to see how if you show up each time as the professional that you are and devote yourself and give all of yourself, even if you're not right for that specific thing you went in for, and it's disappointing, it's hard. There have been some, I'm sorry, I have cried, I have, needed to go to therapy over, but, or really just, I held a certain expectation of how that could even change things, a game changer. I know, I'll get back to Sly Fox, but I just am bringing up that it's interesting how I even got that was because I did something else that left an impression. For whatever reason, it resonated, and that producer didn't forget me. And it's because I remember we even worked on that one that I auditioned for. It was Elaine May. It was a play. And something about me came to his mind, and so just know nothing's ever a waste. I know sometimes when I've gone in and haven't gotten it, I've said, well, that was a waste of my week, you know, of how many days you got to get off book, how many days to prepare. But it was a thrill at the Barrymore Theater. Doing Sly Fox ultimately was amazing. It was 1 month. It was a very long run. It was the longest run that I've done. It was almost a year, actually. And so to play with a role for that long is really interesting because you go through so many different, I mean, especially the way we all work with Howard, you're not going to just, it's not autopilot, right? So each night was trying to find something new to make it exciting and interesting.
And I always say check your entrances and your exits. Wasn't it Sly Fox?
Right,
where
turn.
you checked and it wasn't.
Oh, it didn't turn?
You checked it and luckily, or the needle wasn't threaded.
Yes.
And you were supposed to be sewing.
I was.
And you checked it. You checked your props.
Yes,
I remember that.
Oh my gosh. Always check your props, yes.
Because no one will care about you more than you care about you.
No, and if someone thinks you're crazy or over the top in the level,
Too bad.
in how much you care, I'm sorry, I'm okay with that. You know, you don't ever apologize for caring too much, right? I think we're in a culture right now where it's somehow strangely cool to not care or to not work on your craft. And that's sad to me because actually in every single platform, television, film, theater, no matter where I've been and no matter who I've gone, you know, toe-to-toe with in a scene, or the technique and work has saved me every time. You can only go so far with X amount of followers. I'm sorry, on your Instagram.
Thank you.
Yeah. You can get some eyes on you, but you can't even get to the halfway mark. Or forget longevity if you don't have that foundation. I know. I mean, it's a gift in our culture to have so many more platforms now to get noticed on. I mean, it would be silly to not use that as an actor now, right? Like YouTube, or I mean, to really generate your own content and get yourself out there in interesting ways to control your creativity in ways that are just unbelievable. But at the end of the day, like good old-fashioned hard work, you will win. You will win every time, and it'll save you on any set where any egos are happening or whatever you're navigating on a set. I can't even tell you. I mean, that you can only learn on a set. You know, there's no acting class that can prepare you fully for the egos and the navigating the waters of someone in a bad mood on a given day, or your scene partner not wanting to prepare with you, or I mean, there's so many things that happen. But learning how to take care of yourself on a set is something I'd love to speak to also. But
I remember, we won't say what show, but I remember you were given a direction. You were looking out the window and you had to say something to your son.
Yes.
I use this as an example in my classes because you supplied the motivation. You were turning to say something to your son, and the director said, "No, wait a minute. I want you in profile. The lighting is fantastic."
God, you remember
And
that.
you would, if you had done it simply automatically,
Right.
you would have turned, stopped in profile, and then turned. And you called me. You said, "Guess what I did? I thought, what would make me pause
Right.
if I'm considering what I want to say to him?"
Right.
And you filled it in, and what would have been mechanically awkward
Right.
was immediately motivated.
Thanks for reminding me of that. I do remember.
So there's a way to work with directors when you're not
Yes.
getting organic direction.
Right, like another, I mean, that actually was a really big one, because can you imagine, like, you're in the middle of and you're thinking, oh, I need to stop for the lighting for my cheekbone, and then turn, right? It's ridiculous. So with the technique that you have, you can, it's almost like decoding what they're saying. So if a director's saying to you, that was great, just a little faster. You know, as Howard will often say, and it's like burned in my brain, just intensify your need, your desire, whatever it is in the scene that you want. Just being faster is like, just need it more, and it'll become faster just by virtue of that need and desire showing up. But yeah, there's a lot of kind of decoding.
Of taking external directions and finding a way to motivate.
Contact, yeah.
Great. This is from our own Ian, right here. When you did Hurley Burley, you had very little time to jump in.
Yes.
How did you prepare so well so quickly?
Oh my God. Ian, I love that you asked this question because, I'm sweating thinking about that one. There are moments in life, for all of us, I'm sure, it could be a personal thing, a creative thing, where you're like, how did I do that, right? We all have something you can point to. I don't care how old you were at the time, but this one was, well, and it's very relevant to this conversation we're having right now. I had seen Hurley Burley in January with my husband. We were in the audience, and I fell in love with it. And it honestly, you guys, it was killing me because I knew it was a revival, and there was no way I could ever be in it. And you guys know the scenes, the classic scenes. I played Bonnie. And I was like, oh, this is going to kill me to never be able to play this role because the next time they do it, I won't be able to play her. So at intermission, my husband said to me, he goes, I know what you're feeling right now. And I said, yeah, I'm kind of dying, but she's doing a great job. So, I'm definitely a girl's girl. I will give it up to someone. Anyway, a few months later, I was in New York and got a call from my agent that they had to let this girl go, like, pretty quickly. It was on a Thursday, and could I quickly, it was already a hit on Broadway, could I quickly meet the director? I called Howard, got him the sides, we worked on it on the phone, okay? So we did private coaching for it, and I went and met Scott Elliott, the director, and after I read for him, he said to me, you literally will have 3 days to learn this and go on Friday night. And this is David Rabe, like dialogue, Ethan Hawke, Bobby Cannavale, Josh Hamilton, Parker Posey, and it was already a bona fide hit on Broadway. So 3 days, and my answer was just yes, okay? But then I was dying, and I got off book in 1 day, thanks to help from my husband. We just drilled it and drilled it and drilled it. And then 1 day to learn the blocking for the entire show, and it was already lit. So imagine, there's no like, oh, do I feel like crossing here?
Oh, God.
Or, oh, no, I don't want to grab the water on that line. It was like, I had to just watch it, and that's where my dancing came into play. It was like, oh, you go to the chair, you get up. I had to learn it like choreography, but then, the work that we did and that we all do with Howard is make sense of why I am moving there and picking that up. So first I had to learn it technically, like choreography, and then contact that place in me for it to make sense. And then I met the cast on a Thursday, had one what they call put-in rehearsal, which I didn't even know what that meant at the time, but it meant when they're putting someone new in. And it was like, nice to meet you guys. I'm about to like just vomit. And then I went on, that was Thursday, and then went on Friday night. And so it was intense. But it was probably, if someone asked me, like, it was the greatest creative experience I've ever had so far. And I look forward to many more, but I have to say it was, because it wasn't just about, well, first of all, there was no time to get in my head, which ultimately was a gift. So I was free. There was a freedom and panic. I'll never forget being in the wings where it was like 6 lines before I was supposed to step out. And I thought, oh my God, this is really happening. I wish for this. I manifested this. Not someone to leave a play, but I dreamed of playing this. Here I was, 6 lines in, 5, 4, 3, 2, and then this stage manager I felt this on my back. Like, that's it. I took the leap, and it's great to take a leap when you're scared, right? Like for all of us, just honestly, even putting up scenes in class. Can I be honest?
Did you have some mean teacher?
Yeah. Does this sound familiar? What worked? What didn't it work? I hear that in my head about everything now. What worked about that moment? What didn't and why? But it's 3 great questions, right? And they're questions that honestly I use on set, like a flash. It's like what worked, what didn't, and why. Boom. No. It becomes like this. But also, I just do want to say, just harkening back to Hurley Burley, I also had a very generous cast, and we just connected and clicked, and I felt safe. And that's the best when you have a scene partner in any realm that you can feel that safe with.
I remember the specifics because Bonnie gets thrown out of the car, and the first thing we did is, where would that have been?
Yeah.
Where was their house?
Yeah. How
far
from
up
where
in
you?
the hills did you have to walk? Because sensorily, you had to walk in.
It can't just be fishnets thrashed
Shredded.
blood. I mean, we've all seen that scene in class, right?
Yes.
That the specificity specificity of how we worked on that.
You even thought about the sliding and the gravel burn.
Oh my God, we both remember that.
Of course, because you had to walk in circumstance.
Yeah. It wasn't, ta-da, I'm here.
It was, I just got pushed out of the car and walked.
How hard is it to walk? How long? Yeah. What was the
Much of
weather
an
like?
incline.
Yeah. Sorry, no.
No, please,
whenever we're taking this on the road.
You're playing my song.
Whenever we do the backstory work is honestly my favorite. I don't know how you guys feel, but I find that when that is so specific, it takes care of so much and saves me every time in moments where honestly, like, there is chaos on a set and they're losing the light and all these things that are beyond our control. But if the work has been done, then that stuff lives in you, and especially when you're deep into a run or a few weeks into filming. I mean, that stuff is so easy to contact, and if it's not, it's something to just go back to. I remember I've had like notebooks of it just in my dressing room, maybe on a day you don't feel as connected, and you're trying to. Haven't we all been there where we've tried to force it or push it or put on the music and like try to feel it, and it's like it's not there. And so when I just kind of go back to the specifics, the work, the tech. Do you remember when I was in Miami and I couldn't find my Uta Hagen book? I found a weird bookstore, I remember, and I got it just to review and come back because I remember I was about to work with Al Pacino, and this is like a hero, I think, of a lot of ours, and it was a triangle of me, Pacino, and Oliver Stone, so it was a pretty intense, it was an intense moment, and I was met with a lot of support, but it was pretty intense, and so again, I know it's like a broken record, but I can't say enough that the work before allowed things to be as specific and honest as it was. Even, one thing that just came to my mind, I remember when I was done with the scenes with Al, and I was leaving because they were going on to shoot the rest of the movie. There was a moment, to be invested in all of it is so important. There were moments in the script that I'd kind of noted or dog-eared, like that when I was not going to be there, he was having moments in his mind in the script with my character. And I remember there was a moment he was supposed to open a drawer and see a note that my character had left him. And so before I left Miami, I took my lipstick that I wore in that scene and wrote it on a card for him, "Love, Mandy." My character was Mandy with a little heart. And I said to the prop master, do not lose this. When you get to scene blah, 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 please have this in the drawer for him. And I saw it, like that was what he looked at. I saw him after that, and he said to me, thank you for that. Because very different than generic, whatever.
It's harder the other way.
Right, why make it?
Right.
And it's more fun.
I have a blank piece of paper,
right.
And you got to be in character and explore your character as well.
And then, and he got to receive this. I think it's fun to give gifts to our fellow actors. Sometimes they'll excuse an actor on set because of your call time, and then the person doesn't get to have you on the phone call in that scene. And there are times where it can't happen, but how cool if you take the time to make the call and be the voice on the phone for them, or stay a little bit off camera for them, or whatever
you're allowed to do.
It is a generosity of spirit that I think is getting lost a little bit, but when you do it, I think people value it and appreciate it so much. I know I do.
That's beautiful. We're taking questions from Facebook. Australia, wake up and send us some questions. We're taking questions from the studio audience. Please like our page. Please share our page. Do we have some in, or are we running them out?
I wonder if we had to do an Australian dialect once or something.
I think so.
Well, I think so. That's half British, half
that accent is so hard to do.
Oh, but what about when I've done the 24-hour plays?
Oh dear. Yes,
and
that's a story on me.
Yeah. Should we get into that?
Well, yes, go ahead.
Okay. So, how many? Have there been a lot of your moments in your lives that you have maybe stopped yourself from going after due to fear? Or whatever other reasons. Usually it comes back to fear.
And I do teach people to take risks.
Yes, you do, right? Right. There's this incredible organization called Working Playground. and they have a benefit every year called the 24-Hour Plays. And they're in New York on Broadway, and wonderful actors participate, and you, as an actor, you come and you have to learn the whole thing in 24 hours, Like you come, you get cast in something, the writers go away and work on it, you come back, you rehearse, and then you put it up that night. Well, so we, a group of us, did this great David Lindsay Bear, it's one act, essentially. And they were doing the yes.
That other person.
And they were doing like the best of, the greatest hits for a performance to celebrate and honor this event. And the director who directed it originally, I think it was Christopher Ashley, who's wonderful. He couldn't do it.
He got another gig.
And they said to me, I don't know, we may not be able to do it, and I said, I have an idea. Howard, what are you doing, like, in 2 days? It was, oh, you had your own hurly burly moment. And
he
said, I said, I think you should direct this. And he said, no, I can't, I'm busy, classes, blah, 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 coaching. And I said, listen, fucker.
Get on the plane.
Get on the plane. We're not doing this without you.
I call it being verbally slapped.
And by the way, I have never spoken to
doesn't
him.
speak
That's
that.
not like, you kind of tell that's not really how I talk to people. But it was like, I believed it so strongly, and I thought, this can't be directed by anyone else. It has to be him. Like, it won't be as good without him. So,
I did.
smash cut to him. He directed it, and it was brilliant, and everybody was grateful. So he came to New York and did it.
It's nice to tell people to take risks.
Yes.
You really should.
And I think you had to cancel. You did.
I had to.
You had to.
It was uncomfortable.
But yeah, those moments where we're not so comfortable and we don't feel quote unquote ready, and then we're waiting to feel ready, and
it was a delight directing you in that role.
It was so much fun.
We had a blast.
Yeah, so that thing of ready.
And she's a mom on set, by the way. She had more food for more people.
Well, I feel like low blood sugar.
Deviled eggs. She's passing out.
I like to stock up on nutrition for people. But you know, the thing, just one thing about being ready and staying ready. We're like athletes, and sometimes you could close the door on an opportunity if you're not ready. So for example, if I was, it's part of our job, let's say, you're casting to, for me, let's say, who knows when I'll get asked to dance in something, who knows when I'll, I have to look a certain way. We know, like, there's superficial stuff, but then it's also how you feel energetically too. We're so responsible for our state, our energy, physically, how we feel and move and inhabit our body. And so, like, when they called for hurly burly, if I wasn't ready, I would have had to pass. And I just feel like staying in that state of being ready. I know everyone overuses the word like the grind, the hustle, but it's true. It's true to stay on that. And it's hard as an actor to create a structure for yourself daily. When you're not on a set they kind of take care of you with your call time and all of that. But if you can kind of create a structure for yourself daily, rituals that work for you every day, whether it's meditation, getting your mind right, getting your body feeling right, nutrition, that stuff those are not small things. I think we're this like vessel for, our emotions and letting things flow, and whatever it is for you, I don't know. My husband, it's maybe playing tennis, or for me, it's knocking out the treadmill, or whatever it might be. There's not enough on that for actors, and I think it is a part of the work and responsibility we have is almost like a finely tuned instrument, whatever that may be for you, though. I'm not saying that there's a picture of it. Everyone has their different idea of what works for them.
Great. Please like our page. Please share our page. Please send in questions from Facebook. Okay. This is actually from Facebook. This is from Australia. Good morning. You've worked extensively in both theater and on film TV. What are the major differences and what is the same?
I love that question. We've talked a lot about, there are coaches that do specific work in specific areas, like there's maybe coaches that do sitcom work or this work. I've never felt that they're really separate. I feel like everything that I've done is kind of housed under the same umbrella of work that we do. and it just depends on the tone or we've done the same, like when I did New Girl, I remember we did the same backstory work, and it was quirky and funny, the writing, of course, but I would say there wasn't a difference with how we approached the preparation. It just, the writing and, just being in, that was an established show that I was coming into, the New Girl, so I already knew a certain tone, but I wasn't trying to get a tone outside of myself to match up with that. It was more just understanding who this character is. And then when I was playing with Zooey Deschanel, we found a rhythm, but it was still connected to something very real, even though it's a sitcom or a comedy, single camera. So really I would say with theater and television and film, it's really coming from the same place, that same foundation of preparation. And then, on stage, I hate when people say it's more broad or bigger, but
Because good acting is good acting.
yeah, there is something to be. You have to make sure you're heard.
Yeah, in a large theater.
Of course, and there are microphones and all of that to take care of that as well. But there is, of course, there's more projection needed, and maybe then that's the case that you do kind of up the stakes a little more so that you are heard in the scene. Like going after what you need is very different than if they're in a close-up. That is true. Technically, you're not going to maybe.
But if your instrument is worked out, if you've worked out physically and vocally, and then you can handle all three.
Right.
So
right.
much about preparation.
It is. It is. Yeah.
Excellent. This is from Brooke, who's here.
Hi,
There.
Brooke.
What is one thing you wish you knew at the beginning of your career that you now know? That's a great question.
Brooke, that's so good. Well, I wish I could have talked to someone about how to really navigate rejection and how to separate what they say from what you believe in yourself. That took a lot of work, and it's hard. It's hard to not take it personally when, another word that's so overused is my brand, but you are opening your heart in what we do. It's so deeply personal. It's not a product. It's not a cosmetic line, which is also personal to people, and they work hard, and entrepreneurs work very hard, but your expression of who you are is such a hard thing to not take personally. And so I wish I could have talked to someone more. I feel like a lot of the actresses around the age when I came in, like as a teenager, there wasn't a whole lot of generosity. It was very competitive. I find now with women, I don't know, maybe because life knocks you around a bit and people feel a little more comfortable with being more vulnerable with one another. It's also, I had to really seek out friendships where I could talk about that, like Carla Gugino, who works with Howard, is one of my best friends, and we both, came up at the same time and really help you. You have to find great peers who understand you. And I think also an acting class is a great place to find that, that community, so that you don't feel alone, because in California and New York, Australia, and in this industry, it's sometimes you can feel alone. So what I wish someone had told me, what I wish it was not, it was more about, I found a resilience, and I would love to talk to people about how to do that more, because it's something that has served me in my life and in my work very well. But maintaining that belief in yourself in the face of whatever it is, it's a lot of personal growth work that the industry does not really support. So I really support young women and young men in whatever age you are. It's not too late to find that belief in yourself again and start anew. But from the beginning, it would be nice to go, okay, how do I not take it personally, and how do I keep going and not let that eclipse what I do have to offer or change my authentic self. I think a lot of people spend a lot of time changing who they are to see, like, oh, if I put on this identity, will this be the winning formula, or this identity, will this be? And I mean, that happens anyway growing up, but I think in the industry it would be nice to just kind of get clear on who I am and what I have to offer, and if it makes sense for this role, great, and if it doesn't, I'll move on. It doesn't mean you don't care less, because you need
But
to
it's
have
about
that.
being authentic.
Yeah, and I think knowing yourself really well is really helpful. So whatever ways you do that, I wouldn't want to impose what that looks like, but the more work you do on yourself, the more you have to hold on to yourself. And then I would also say it's important, and especially now there's really no excuse not to. I think the greatest thing is to create your own things. Somebody knows a great writer, or you discover you have a talent in writing. There's so many opportunities to create your own things while you're pursuing other jobs, because you want to stay as creative as possible in between. So if you get together with your friends and make a short, or it's so important.
So that you keep yourself healthy in between gigs.
Yeah, I think the most painful thing is waiting to be creative. You know, waiting for someone else to say,
Everyone in
"Now
this
it's
room
okay."
is nodding to that.
Yeah, like, yeah, we think you're good enough for this, and so now you're allowed to be creative. And I honestly think I have so many friends who've been really seen and really discovered when they've started creating their own things. And you don't have to be a big star. I mean, look at YouTube. People become known on there from whatever they're creating, or short films, or there's so many, write a play. There's so many ways to do it. It seems harder, but trust me, it's harder to be waiting for someone to tell you that they get you.
That landed for this entire studio. Facebook, please tap the like button, the heart button, the share button, whatever button, tap them.
Just tap it.
You're enjoying
I mean,
live
come on.
stream. Please share us. Apparently a lot of people are tuning in all around the world. And they should, because you want to hear Elizabeth Berkley Lauren. This,
Lauren is my husband's last name, so.
that is the
In case you're
correct
wondering
pronunciation.
why it suddenly became.
And did you notice?
Yes. So Greg Lauren is his name, and he's very supportive
And a great guy.
and a wonderful, wonderful human being. Yeah.
Yeah. This is from Alex Poe. He's there.
Hi, Alex.
What do you do to get in character before going on stage or on set?
Good one. Really, really good one. I was thinking the other day about a girlfriend of mine that I sometimes am jealous of. I've gotten to work with her quite a few times. Jennifer Beals. She's one of my best friends. She's like a sister to me. We did the L Word together, and I came into a well-oiled machine. That show, I think it was the 4th season, and I saw all the girls kind of laughing and giggling before the takes, very professional, but I'm just saying there was a freedom. There's a definitely, how could there not be if you've been doing the same characters with the same group for 4 years. So when I've come, there's two different answers to this, because I was just thinking about, often I've come into something like that, where it is this well-oiled machine, and so I have felt like, oh, do I need to do a little more work to stay connected to this character, or can I be free and loose with them and it'll just be there? Like, there's been a lot of, I think some of our work has been me trusting myself that it will be, especially once we've done the work. So getting into character.
You are a workaholic.
Yes, I am. Okay, and sometimes maybe even I've thought lately, sometimes the overworking is maybe the way I counter any anxiety. So it might manifest differently for people. I guess it's not a bad thing, though.
No.
I'll take it. I'd rather
Better
be that
than
yeah,
lazy.
because do you want someone ever saying, like, oh my God, she could be so good if she
No.
applied herself, right? That would be my nightmare. Like,
No, and no.
No, but it's interesting when I've done Broadway or any kind of London theater. It's really interesting the ritual of getting ready. You do your own makeup, believe it or not. Like, I didn't know that. I was like, where's my makeup artist? You literally do your own makeup. They do prep your wig if it's a period thing, or they do your hair. But I found, for me, everyone is going to have something different. But I find for stage, doing my own makeup once we've designed the look and playing a certain music, letting the day fall away, and just kind of locking into that zone. The makeup, the ritual, it just kind of would drop in for me. But again, this is after doing extensive work and rehearsal, all of that. So that would be the theater piece for me. That's when that helped me. The moments on a TV set or a movie of dropping into character, that's an interesting one. I don't know, music is powerful for me. I kind of have a playlist for every show I've done because it just, I don't know, for me, it's a vibration that just sets a tone. But I learned very early on with Howard to not get locked into a mood. It's doom equals doom. And so I think when you get to a place of trusting that it's all going to be there, not so much work has to happen of like, let me be in character, because it's just going to be there. Once I find the wardrobe informs so much. When I was doing First Wives Club, I remember, and by the way, I'm not casual about being involved with the wardrobe. And, I've never really come across a stylist who didn't like that participation because
they're trying
they
to
know
do their job too. And
yeah, I remember there was a character that was supposed to feel really vulnerable, like in her body that I played, and I said I want to make sure the pants are a little too tight because so when I sit and I'm walking around, I'm instantly, I know for me, I'm a crazy dancer, like too tight of pants are not going to make me feel as good about myself, and so little physical things that you can do, that drops you in. Even the shoes that I choose. I mean, I wasn't going to wear flats today for you guys, Australia. I remember in First Wives Club, it didn't say in the script, when the pizza person comes, she runs on her tiptoes to the door and says, pizza, okay? I didn't know I was going to do that either, but it happened to be a floor like this in a loft that was really slippery. I chose a heel. I knew I wanted a heel because I wanted to make sure I was going to be taller than Goldie Hawn's character. I thought it was going to be funny to be taller than her. Then eye to eye, it just added a little dimension. And they were not solid. My footing was not solid. So therefore, I didn't work on a walk with Howard. We didn't work on, but when it said pizza and I ran to the door, it was this thing that became the girl Phoebe Lavelle's run. So the getting into character, it can come about, I think, different ways, but it's not something outside myself. It's something that
so even if you're
contacts my physicality,
using other things, it then connects to who you are.
To the emotional.
Yeah.
So I hope that helps.
Great, excellent. This is from Parker.
Hi, Parker.
Is writing a gift you were always aware you had, or is it something that you discovered later? And how do you feel writing has impacted you as an actor?
Very interesting. If you had told me, I don't know, in high school, like, oh, you're going to be a New York Times bestselling author, I would say that's not even on my list, my bucket list or my dream list, right? So it's been, I knew I was an English lit major at UCLA, which I did not finish. I'm just being honest. Don't shame me. And I know I could do it online, but life is busy, and I'll get to it at some point. But so English literature was my major, and I just was working a lot, and so I kept getting incompletes. And I just said, okay, you know what? I'm going to go with the flow of work right now, and that was the choice I made, and I'm glad I did. But writing, writing in journals and writing was always something I loved. But when the message that I knew I needed to get out for the girls that I work with, because in case someone doesn't know, the book that I wrote is based on the most asked questions from workshops that I had facilitated for years for girls in middle schools and high schools. And I noticed that there was this collective group of questions no matter where I would go in the country and no matter what socioeconomic background. And so Putnam published this book for girls, and it's really not just for girls. It's for anyone, by the way. So if you want to check it out, you can. But I'm not here today to promote the book. It's been
well. There's a reason it's a bestseller. It's doing a lot of good for people.
But I'm just sharing with you guys because when I set out to do that, I had been writing some columns for Oprah.com and kind of warming that up and going, okay, this is interesting, for mothers and daughters. I had gone to her school in South Africa to work with her girls, and I just kind of, I had decided it was time to write, and I wrote about some personal things as well. I'm interested now in even checking out, I don't know where it's going to go, but I've set up a couple shows as a producer, and I think it would be interesting to collaborate with writing in that realm. I haven't tried it yet. It's a little scary, but if you guys do things that scare you, I will too. So we'll all catch that.
You really should take risks.
Yeah, thank you. So, yeah, I think it's amazing to discover new things. And frankly, we're lucky because as actors, we get to often learn a new skill that our character might have. And I love that. I love when, I've never played the violin. I'd love to play the violin as a character. Watch, I'll manifest that. But I just love, not only emotionally inhabiting this other being, but then learning a new skill is something that is just an added incredible thing, especially if it's a period piece.
Great.
I love that.
Please like our page, share our page, give us hearts.
Love us.
Love us.
Such an actor thing to say, love me.
Okay, this is from Natalie Yatsina. She actually handles our social media, and she's in Facebook world at the moment. Hi, Natalie.
Hi, Natalie.
What is your process for putting a character to bed once you finished a film or a TV show or on Broadway?
That is such a good question. It's hard. It's sometimes there's a sadness after, because especially, it's so immersive. If you're doing a film or TV, it's sometimes 18 hours a day and 6 days a week, and you're working nights, and you almost, there's a blur between, there is no real life, really. I'm a mother now, so there has to be. That is different than working pre-Sky. But yeah, it can really, I always learn something, and I find, don't you find that you'll get a scene at the right time, you need to learn that thing in class? I always would find, oh God, that's what I need to work on, or that for me anyway, I think there's something poetic about the work we do that is kind of, it's connected to our soul. If we really want to see, what is it inviting in us to come out that maybe we weren't willing to until we played that. I don't care if it's a scene in acting class or a whole movie or a whole play, it's the same. But I remember after one job, I just mentioned this to someone the other day, they asked me if I'd been to this place. It was kind of like a spa thing after this movie that was like an 8-month movie, very physical. And I remember I thought, I just need to be alone. And I went to this place, and I remember I checked out the very next day because being alone was not what I needed. Sometimes, I think if you really fall in love with the character, it's kind of sad. I remember even after playing Nomi Malone in Showgirls, I didn't know without the nails and without the glitter, without all that, I felt plain. I remember being sad, that was my, not armor, but it was what endowed me to play her, and I was wanting to hold on to certain things that were bold and brave without all the artifice of that. And so it's almost like, this is funny, so women are pregnant for 40 weeks, and then they say there's a 4th trimester. There's a book actually called The Fourth, and I'm just thinking of this right now. It's so interesting. No one really, and thank you for this question, it's not often honored, that aftermath of playing a role, and how you've been either changed by it, or honestly, sometimes the people you miss, because you will never be in that same, it's like a circus, you'll never be in that same group with that same dynamic working on that. From job to job, either there's some people that have been lifelong friends, and some you go, wow, it was just great for that moment, and I'm not going to see them every day. So there are so many, it's the character you long for, the actual dynamic, if it was fabulous, that you kind of miss, and you, because there's so many beginnings and endings in our industry, and sometimes it can go quite a while till you get the next thing. So some people discuss like a Cinderella feeling, like after being on set and people really caring where you are at all times and what you're doing, and then it's like the next day after wrap, nobody's checking in. And you're like, oh my God, I have to find my footing in my life routine again. So it is, I think people don't talk about that enough, caring for yourself. And I think at that point is a lot of self-care, keep in touch with the people from that job so you don't feel lonely about, you want to be able to talk about it, vent about it.
Is it hard when you're a guest star and then the cast gets to continue?
Yes, and I've had that a lot. That, first of all, being a guest star, or either a one-shot guest star or reoccurring even, where there's an opportunity for bonding and feeling like you're a part of it, but then it's like, bye. You know, I have felt that 7th grade feeling of like, okay, have fun. You know, and it hurts. It does hurt, especially if you want to stay, right? You're like, I want to be here, but then you move on, you know, like anything, and it can really, yeah, just each one is so, I remember, yeah, any given Sunday, I remember they had a whole movie to shoot after we were done, and I felt so left out. I was like, Cameron Diaz gets to be there, and this one gets to be there. You know, you just, then you just hold on to what you loved about it. And the characters that we play do change us if we let them, which is, I would say, a great thing.
When you have
adds more dimension, right?
When you have an emotional role, do you have a process for then letting go and coming out?
Each day or at the end?
Each day.
Okay, so that also depends on, like, if I've been on a location alone and I can stay in it a little more, then you kind of have permission to let it just keep bubbling through you and moving through you. But, you know, as a parent and being a spouse, and, you know, you have to find your way in it. But I do ascribe to self-care, and I know it's really important, and it's not talked about really in terms of the actor's life, but I do, like after work, I do a ritual of like a bath with Epsom salts and a candle and like things to kind of, you know, I love my bath.
Do you want to? It's up to
No,
you.
no, I don't know. No.
Depends on what you want to put on the air.
I should do we have coached.
We have.
No, I mean.
Oh, wait,
not,
you just said it.
No, I didn't. Anyway.
I wasn't there.
He wasn't there. Like, I could do a coffee table book on. I love a good bath. Okay, but whatever ritual.
No, I'm.
No. Whatever rituals help you, nourish you. It could be good, yummy food, a good bath. Let me just say for the record, he has never been near me in my bath. On the phone, maybe before. Text.
Okay.
Okay. So anyway, rituals that make you feel good. Like,
yes.
Honestly. Okay. And sometimes calling a good friend that has nothing to do with the shoot, and if you want to kind of bring yourself out of it, sometimes you want to stay in it and kind of marinate in it, but I think checking in with someone that has nothing to do with it, just to say like, oh, can we just laugh? Can we just talk?
This is
It's
from
helpful.
Jeffrey, who's here.
Hi, Jeffrey. You too.
What would be your passion project, and have you ever considered directing?
I have considered directing. I think it would be, I've directed and produced a ton of content for the girls I work with, so totally different. There's not a narrative, it's more about...
I was unsure even answering the question, if you had already had some experience.
No, I haven't in the realm that we're speaking of, but it's funny, sometimes when you have experience and have kind of tasted it a little bit somewhere, you kind of go, oh, I could apply this here, even though it's very different. Producing really excites me, and I've definitely tried my hand. A couple of things that got close to getting picked up. One was a series, it was an idea I had. I brought it to Lionsgate, and we pitched a lot of the networks, and it was a vehicle for me. It was an ensemble, but a vehicle. It didn't go, but it made me want to do more. So definitely producing really excites me. It's a great time for women to be setting up production companies and doing all of that. So that feels really right. And And directing, we'll see. We'll see. I mean, if it's really close to my heart, then I would love to. Yeah, and I'd love to. Yeah.
Great. Final thoughts, Elizabeth? Anything you'd
Oh my
like to
God,
share?
this is it? Come on.
Well, we can give you for another couple hours.
I was just trying to think. I mean, I just want to bring it up. You know, the social media and all of that is an incredible tool. So we're lucky to have it. We wouldn't be able to do this right now. Okay? I mean, there's so much positive. And I have heard of managers who've said, well, how many followers do they have? And I know I touched on this a second, but I know a guy who had probably 300 followers, and then a movie came out that really just exploded, and he now has millions. But if he hadn't trained, and if he didn't have the foundation he had, all the followers in the world, you're left with followers. You'll have no career if you don't have that foundation. And I don't know, I'm bringing this up again just because I think there's so many examples of people getting famous for really doing nothing. And
for a moment.
I was going to say, exactly, it doesn't last. It really doesn't. In terms of things that I'm sure this group wants. You know, I mean, it depends what you want. But, so use the tool and use it to be creative. And just like we don't want to define our worth by the yes or the no on a job, you know, please, I'm just encouraging you to not find your worth on how many likes you have, or, you know, to really stay strong and not betray yourself in terms of what you put out there just to get attention.
Well, it extends the popularity contest of school throughout life.
Yeah. And so I know if someone's like, oh, you're talking about technology, but it's important because we use that metrics as a measure of our worth, just like I'm connecting it to like the industry, the yes or the no of whether we get the job or don't get the job. And it's important to keep filling yourself up because you are going to get incredible appreciation and validation. And with that, you know, harsh rejection, it's reality. So this is, I'm not being negative, I'm not going to send you off on a negative note. I'm just saying to arm yourself and empower yourself with all the tools because your gift and your talent is needed in this world right now. No matter how many people are applauded for their followers and all, we can look at that, but I know anyone here and anyone listening to this is serious about the craft of acting, and I love you for that because that's something that is forever. Like you can't just get by on the other. It will only last so long. There's not longevity there. And if you love it with everything you've got, then no matter what you go through is okay. Like that love for me has been the thing that I keep returning. I remember when I was little, my mom said, the minute this stops being fun, you let me know. And it's kind of still, has always been in my head no matter what I've been through. Like, is this still fun? Even when it has hurt and I have sobbed on the bed going, this is crazy, I hate this, you know, but I love it. So, you know, if you have the love in spite of what second or third job you have to do, or, you know, whatever you're doing to support yourself, you know, nobody handed me anything in my career. No one. I didn't have connections. No one ever has. Even some friends who are in positions that could help. For some reason, it's been the blessings of strangers who have appreciated my work, and I'm not looking for a handout. Like, let's just do our work. You feel that pride. You know how you got there. So I just want you guys to know I appreciate you and the hard work. And one thing I was thinking about acting class, I remember one thing, I don't have any regrets, but one thing, because I just didn't know yet before that second round going back to the beginning, I remember if I got good feedback on a scene, I was scared to do another one. And so, do you guys get what I mean by, like...
Yes.
Right? I was like, wait, but mine was like...
Let's just stop there.
Yeah. Mine was connected to this like perfectionism of like, well, I don't want to do one that might fail in the eyes of the teacher who now thinks I'm amazing and we don't need a second working of it. Okay? So my fear of failing sometimes blocked me from doing more falling on my ass, right? And so I would say fall on your ass more and fail more and get down and dirty with it. And honestly, that is what builds your esteem, your self-esteem in this work. And so I'm glad I came back with such humility to say, all right, I'm going to come mess up. And this is where you can do it safely. So thank you guys for having me.
Oh, Elizabeth.
Thank you.